Okay, so today we're diving into something that I think is really at the heart of a lot of issues in cybersecurity. We're talking about the human element. We've got a whole bunch of materials here, all looking at how, the actions that people take, people within organizations can actually create risks, security risks, but of course, more importantly, how to understand and reduce those risks.
Yeah, you can hit the nail on the head there. For our listeners out there, whether you are, uh, you know, prepping for a big meeting or just trying to stay up to date with what's happening in cybersecurity, or even if you're just curious about this, we know you don't have all day to get the need to know info, right? So in this deep dive, we're going to pull out the most valuable insights from all these materials on human risk management. We're going to focus on a system called AwareGo, which is all about assessing and training employees in cybersecurity.
So it feels like no matter how advanced our tech gets, the firewalls, the fancy intrusion detection systems, it always seems to come back to people making choices, right?
Yeah.
And those choices can either, make things more secure or less secure.
Exactly. And the stuff we've been looking at really emphasizes that it's not enough to just say, oh, humans are the weakest link. We've got to go deeper. We need to understand the how and the why behind that statement, and then we can actually start taking meaningful steps to fix it.
And that's where this idea of actually measuring human cybersecurity risk comes in.
Right. Like they say, you can't improve what you don't measure. If we want to get a handle on the human-related risks within an organization, we've got to have a way to effectively measure them.
And that brings us to AwareGo, the system that's specifically designed for managing human risk in cybersecurity. What makes their approach to measuring this risk unique?
What's really interesting about AwareGo is they use these things called interactive scenarios. So instead of just relying on people to self-report, through those boring old questionnaires, they put people right into the action with simulations. These scenarios are designed to mimic real-world threats, across all sorts of different areas.
So instead of just asking, what would you do? It's more like, let's see what you actually do in a safe environment. That seems way more useful.
Exactly. And the material goes on to say that these scenarios aren't just basic knowledge checks. They really try to expose the gap between what someone knows they should do and how they actually behave when faced with a real cybersecurity challenge.
That makes a lot of sense. Knowing the theory is one thing, but actually putting it into practice, especially when you're stressed or distracted at work, that's a whole other ballgame.
Yeah, it's kind of like the difference between reading about how to ride a bike and actually getting on one and trying not to fall over.
There's a quote from this guy, Nikolai Bethoff at Mondelez International, that really hits home on this. He said they were able to pinpoint, and I quote, very specific areas where we needed to educate our teams on cybersecurity, end quote. And they also found gaps between knowledge and behavior in everyday business.
Right. So that really shows the value of actually putting people through these practical assessments.
Absolutely. And it looks like the system covers a pretty wide range of potential threat areas.
Yeah, it does. They've got stuff on phishing, those sneaky emails trying to trick you into clicking on bad links. But the materials suggest they go beyond the typical phishing simulations, right? They do something called positive testing.
Positive testing. What does that even mean when we talk about phishing?
So imagine this. Instead of just trying to trick people into clicking on a malicious link, which is what most phishing simulations do, positive testing probably involves giving people suspicious emails, but rewarding them when they correctly spot those little red flags.
Oh, I see. So it's more about reinforcing good habits and recognizing those threats instead of just trying to catch people messing up.
Right. It's about teaching them how to avoid those threats in the first place. Then there's sensitive data, right?
Yeah.
How do people handle confidential information on social media or just in their daily work? That's another big one.
Yeah, because even unintentional mistakes with sensitive data can be really damaging, sometimes even more so than an outside attack.
Absolutely. And they look at how employees handle passwords, too. Do they know how to create a strong password, one that's unique? And how are they managing those passwords?
That's so important. It's easy to get lazy with passwords, but it can have serious consequences.
No kidding. And get this, they even include scenarios for physical security, too. Like they have stuff on tailgating where someone sneaks into a secure area by following someone who's authorized, and also shoulder surfing.
I hadn't even thought about the connection between physical security and cybersecurity in this way.
But it makes sense, right? Attackers are always looking for the path of least resistance, and that often means exploiting human nature. Like if you see someone struggling to get through a door, you might just hold it open for them, not thinking twice about it.
You're right. It's those little moments of distraction or wanting to be helpful that can create big security risks.
And with so many people working remotely now, they also have assessments for that. They're checking to see how aware people are of cybersecurity risks in those environments, which can be less controlled than a traditional office setting.
It sounds really comprehensive, and the materials emphasize that this isn't just a one-time thing. It's constantly evolving, trying to keep up with the always changing landscape of threats.
That's a really important point. Cybersecurity isn't a set it and forget it thing. It's got to be dynamic, always adapting to new threats as they pop up.
So let's say an organization wants to get started with something like this. How easy is it to actually implement?
Well, from what I've seen, it's designed to be pretty user-friendly. They say you can get started in like minutes by using their pre-built programs. These programs focus on specific areas, so you can just pick and choose what makes sense for your organization.
That sounds super convenient.
Yeah, and if you want something more customized, they let you build your own assessments. You can even use your own company data and employee data to make the scenarios super realistic and relevant.
That would probably make people take it more seriously.
Huh.
It's one thing to deal with hypothetical situations, but when it feels like something that could actually happen at work, it's a lot more impactful.
Exactly. Plus, they've got all sorts of integrations with other systems that companies are already using. Things like Active Directory, Google Workspace, and Single Sign-On. They even have training bots for Slack and Teams.
Wow, so they're really trying to make it easy to weave security awareness into the tools people use every day.
Exactly. So instead of it being this separate, annoying task, it's just part of their regular workflow.
That's smart. It makes it feel less like a burden and more like just a normal process of work.
Right. And once an organization finishes the assessments, they get a ton of useful information.
So it's not just about pointing fingers and saying, you did this wrong. It's about providing guidance and resources to help people improve.
Exactly. They can quickly see which departments or even which specific individuals are most vulnerable to certain types of threats.
So you can focus your training efforts where they're needed most.
You got it. It's way more efficient than just blasting everyone with the same generic training, hoping something sticks. And they even provide feedback that can be used to improve internal security policies and procedures.
That's awesome. It's like a feedback loop for the whole organization, not just individual employees. Now, let's go back to their methodology for a second. It's described as being unique and really focus on those scenarios we talked about. What's the thinking behind that approach?
Well, it's pretty cool, actually. They worked with both cybersecurity experts and behavioral scientists to develop this approach. They wanted to go way beyond those typical multiple choice questions.
So it's not about tricking people or making them feel stupid. It's about teaching them.
You got it. The main goal is to get people's attention in a way that really matters. They want people to develop secure habits, almost like muscle memory. By putting them through these realistic scenarios, it's like practicing for a real attack.
Okay, so that's assessment. But what about training? You find out where your weaknesses are, then what?
Well, they offer a bunch of different training resources. They have these security awareness videos that are designed to be, well, fun.
Yeah.
And easy to remember. It's not your typical boring corporate training video.
Enjoyable security training. That's not something you hear every day.
I know, right? But that's the key. If people are engaged, they're going to learn more. They have over 100 of these videos, all short and snappy, and they cover a huge range of security topics. They even have quizzes after each video to make sure people are paying attention.
That's clever. And it sounds like their whole system is really user-friendly. They mentioned that it's cloud-based, which makes it easy to schedule and deliver those assessments and training programs.
Absolutely. And to make it even better, they've got APIs, widgets, SCORM format content, all that techie stuff. This means they can integrate seamlessly with all sorts of learning management systems and platforms that companies already use. Plus, all that integration we talked about before with Active Directory, Google Workspace, Slack, Teams, all that good stuff.
So they're really trying to make it as painless as possible to incorporate security awareness into the way people already work.
You got it. And besides the assessments and training, they also offer expert consulting services. If a company needs more help figuring out their biggest cybersecurity risks, they've got people who can help with that.
So it's not just a software solution. They have real people who can provide guidance and support.
Yeah. And remember how we talked about identifying vulnerable departments and roles? They can help with that too. And they can also give feedback on a company's current security policies and procedures.
It's like having a cybersecurity coach in your corner, helping you develop a winning strategy.
And they're really big on creating a positive experience for employees. They want people to see those simulated scenarios as learning opportunities, not as reasons to get in trouble.
That's so important. If people are afraid to make mistakes, they're not going to learn anything, and they're definitely not going to report problems when they happen.
Right. They're also big on making their system easy to manage, and they want to avoid what they call assessment fatigue. Basically, they want to make those scenarios feel more like an interactive game, a bit like those escape rooms that are so popular these days.
Oh, I see. Make it feel more like a challenge than a test.
Exactly. And they're constantly adding more languages to their system. Right now, they support 18 different languages, and they're adding more all the time. Plus, it's all designed to work with the way people work today, with all the cloud-based tools and remote work and everything. And importantly, they are SOC 2 compliant, which means they've gone through a really tough audit to prove that they handle your data securely.
That's reassuring, especially in today's world where data breaches are a constant threat.
Definitely. And they offer flexible pricing, too. Depends on how many employees a company has and which services they want to use.
So it can scale to fit different organizations, from small businesses to large enterprises. Now, they also mentioned something about partner opportunities.
Yeah, for businesses that want to beef up their own cybersecurity offerings, partnering with AwareGo could be a smart move. It could help them land bigger deals by adding human risk assessment and training to their services.
So it's not just for companies looking to improve their own security. It could be a good opportunity for cybersecurity consultants and service providers, too.
Right. Now, to get a sense of how well this actually works in the real world, they've included some customer testimonials from Rhyno Cybersecurity.
Yeah, these are always interesting to read. What are people saying about AwareGo?
Well, Rhyno Cybersecurity has a 5 out of 5 star rating on some popular review sites, and they have 40 reviews, which is a lot. One HR manager at a manufacturing company said they really liked the tailored workshops, which helped them figure out exactly what their needs were and train their staff effectively.
So it's not just a generic one-size-fits-all approach. They take the time to understand each company's specific needs.
Yeah, absolutely. And a director of finance from a real estate company said they really appreciated the engaging and relevant custom training program that AwareGo developed for them.
It's great to hear that the training is actually engaging. So often, security training can be dry and boring, which makes it hard for people to pay attention and actually learn something.
I agree. And finally, a CEO and president of a manufacturing company said he'd recommend AwareGo's workshops because they were informative, practical, and tailored. So again, we see those themes of customization and real-world relevance coming through.
So it's not just about checking boxes and complying with regulations. It's about actually helping people understand cybersecurity and make smarter decisions.
Exactly. It's about building a culture of security awareness.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, what's the big takeaway here for our listeners? What's the most important thing to remember about human risk management in cybersecurity?
To me, the key message is this. You can't ignore the human element. It's not just some side issue. It's absolutely central to cybersecurity.
Right. We can have the most advanced technology in the world, but if our people aren't aware of the risks and don't know how to stay safe, we're still vulnerable.
Exactly. And tools like AwareGo give us a really structured, engaging, and data-driven way to tackle this problem. We can understand how our employees think and behave, find those weak spots, and then provide targeted training to fix them.
It's like taking a proactive approach to security awareness, instead of just waiting for something bad to happen and then reacting to it. So for you, the listener, as you think about your own organization or even just your personal online life, ask yourself this. How much attention are you paying to the human factor?
Yeah. What steps can you take to strengthen that often overlooked part of the security chain?
Well, that was a fascinating deep dive into the world of human risk management in cybersecurity. I hope you found it as informative as I did. We'll definitely be exploring related topics in future deep dives, so stay tuned. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me. It was great to be here.
And to all our listeners out there, stay safe, stay secure,
And stay aware.